music. Their music is called death metal. These bands have a message, and what they're saying isn't pretty.
I'm Tom Morris. We're here at Morris Sound Recording, Studio A in Tampa, Florida.
My name is Dieter Shapinski, and during the Blessed days I was working for World Management and also doing tour merchandise for the band on the road.
With Altars, Digby, president of Earache, actually came to the recording sessions because he was very interested in the whole process as well. When we did Blessed, Digby was not present, and we had it was a very different thing because, you know, when we did Altars, we didn't have as much touring under our belt. We were, you know, as you grow and you gain experience and you understand new things, try new techniques and what have you.
What I remember the recording was it went very quick. Pete knocked out his drum tracks in like a day and a half. I don't think they spent more than a month in the studio.
They were both cut on analog tape. Altars was a much faster project. The whole thing, start to finish, was the best of my recollection. This stretches my memory here, but was under a week. Blessed, we had a little more luxury with time and a chance to experiment. In Altars, we were under the gun. We had to get it out, and with Digby here, you know, pounding on the budget, we knew we had to take what we could get, and it was their first real experience recording. It was my first experience recording with them. On Blessed, because we had a little more time, we were able to get better takes. I mean, what you hear on both of those records is in analog recording. There's no time correction in any of the parts. There's no pitch correction on anything. You know, there's no beat detective going on like people do to drum tracks today. It was all cut live with Pete. There's very little in the way of sampling on any of the drum tracks. There's, best of my recollection, I may have added on Blessed, not on Altars, but on Blessed, a snare sample and a kick sample to the acoustic kit. But everything else, all the toms and cymbals and all that, are his live kit as he played it live. So there's no triggering or any of that replaced drum parts. And you take the audio signal off the tape and run it through usually a gate of some kind, which is built into the console, or we had outboard gates in those days. So you have a noise gate that then would open only when that drum is being hit. And that trigger signal is then sent to, at the time we used the TC2290, which is a digital delay device. And you could also set it up, you could record a digital sample in there. So I would take a sample of Pete's kick or snare drum, record it into the 2290, and then take the tape track, and you actually had to take, because it's coming off analog tape, you had to take the trigger signal from the erase head, which the tape got to before it got to the playback and record head. So it gave you a few milliseconds of pre-delay for the trigger, which allowed you to trigger the sample within a millisecond or two of when it actually had to be recorded to be in sync with the acoustic snare drum. So it was a digital sample that was triggered from a gate off the erase head for that track. These days, most people, as soon as you record something like this, they would chop it all up, and to me that kills the feel and the emotion of the song. Pete was allowed to be a little bit more perfectionist on Blessed, and I think it got, with each progressive record, where they had a little more time to work on it, they each knew they could spend a little more time on their parts.
We really weren't thinking about so much the success of it as we were, putting forth our next piece. What's our next chapter? We weren't really paying that much attention to other things that were going on in the scene, other than, yes, we had our friends that were in other bands and what have you, but when it came time for creativity, we always looked inward.
My name is Carl Sanders. I play in the band Nile. I was completely blown away by the stuff that Trey and Richard were doing with their guitars and the ideas that David had. Oh my God, this is just mind-boggling stuff. For years I struggled, to try and play this kind of music, because it was more than I could absorb.
I'm Dallas Toller Wade, guitar and vocals for the band Nile. I really noticed right away the brutality of the riffing and the precision of the drums and how fast they were and the kind of atmosphere and vibe that they were creating.
Blessed of the Sick is classic. It's one of those albums. Never gets old. I still listen to it and actually a lot. I still enjoy every moment in this album, and I still get inspired to write music. I was already a huge Morbid Angel fan, so I was really waiting for the next step, and Blessed made me really happy. Also, the musicianship was top notch. They really raised the bar.
We experimented a bit on different vocal approaches and found something that he really liked that he could sing to. That's always a challenge when you have somebody that's when you have that kind of vocal presentation where it's not straight singing, to find a sound that they can perform to in their headphones and it still comes across big on the speakers. It's kind of a challenge.
First and foremost, I was a smoker during Altars, and that went away after I went on my first tour and realized I was just on stage. So getting that out of the way, my vocals got a little deeper, they got a little stronger, and boy was I happy about that, because it really, I was started to be able to do more of the things that I wanted to do and not be hindered by physical limitation.
When Blessed Are the Sick came out, all of a sudden this was music that it made artistic kind of sense. I mean, it was still weird and twisted and sick and beyond anything else, but it was done in a really artistic kind of way.
Blessed Are the Sick is kind of a death metal masterpiece from one end to the other.
In just reviewing some of those songs and listening to effects on things, we had just, for instance, one of our later purchases was an Eventide H3000 harmonizer, which had all these effects, and I can remember I showed Trey a couple of things that I could do with it, and I gave him the manual and let him look through, and every solo then had to have a different effect. So we spent time custom tailoring a sound for each solo, whether it was a phase with a delay or an envelope filter that was going through.
He's very disciplined, spends a lot of time really working out the shift and the side-to-side feel, not just only straightforward da-da-da-da-da, but da-da-da-da-da, writing that within the riffs over a straight drum beat. So it has kind of a shifting feel.
It has a lot of cool, innovative guitar ideas that, of course, I was really, kind of inspired by when I heard the stuff.
It's incredible. It's beyond anything anybody's ever done or anyone has ever tried to do. To take death metal and make it that much of not just brutal music, but